The forest was quiet in the way forests like to be at night. Dark, cold, and just unsettling enough that your brain starts inventing problems for you. This was December 1980, just outside a pair of US Air Force bases in England, because apparently even during the Cold War, reality still had time to get weird. The bases, RAF Woodbridge and Bentwaters, weren't exactly casual workplaces either. These were high-security installations, widely believed to be storing nuclear weapons. So, naturally, when strange lights started dropping into the nearby trees, the official reaction was calm, measured, and completely in control. Just kidding. They had no idea what was going on. It began in the early hours after Christmas, which already feels like suspicious timing. While most people were dealing with leftovers and regrettable gift choices, security personnel spotted lights descending into Rendlesham Forest just beyond the base perimeter. Now, to be fair, if something falls out of the sky, plane crash is a nice, comforting explanation. It has rules, it has debris, it doesn't usually involve existential questions, so they sent a team out to investigate, expecting wreckage. Instead, they found something that did not come with an instruction manual. Multiple witnesses reported encountering a glowing object deeper in the forest. Triangular, metallic, roughly the size of a small vehicle, covered in lights that pulsed in a way that felt less like malfunctioning machinery and more like this thing is doing that on purpose. One airman described it as smooth, like unnervingly smooth. No seams, no panels, no visible way this thing was assembled by anything that obeys normal engineering rules, which is already a red flag, because most human technology looks like it was built by people who argue over screws. As they approached, the object didn't just sit there like a polite piece of unidentified machinery waiting to be examined. It moved, quickly, silently, through trees, not around them, through them, or at least in a way that suggested it didn't particularly care about obstacles. It darted between trunks without snapping branches, without crunching leaves, without doing any of the things you or I would absolutely fail at within 5 seconds of entering a forest at night. And then, just as everyone was probably starting to question their career choices, it disappeared. No crash site, no wreckage, no satisfying explanation, just darkness again. Which is always comforting. At this point, you'd think the logical response would be to say, "Alright, that was weird. Let's never go into those woods again." But no. The following nights, they went back with more people and more rank. Because if something unexplainable is happening in a forest, the best solution is clearly to bring a larger audience. Enter Charles Holt, the deputy base commander. Not exactly the kind of person who gets involved in ghost stories unless those ghost stories start interfering with national security. He brought a tape recorder, which was either very smart or very unfortunate, because now we have audio evidence of trained military personnel slowly realizing they are way out of their depth. As they moved into the forest again, the lights returned. Not just one object this time, but multiple. Some drifting through the trees, others hovering at a distance like they were deciding whether or not to commit to the situation. At one point, they described a glowing red light moving between the trees, pulsing almost like it was breathing, which is not something you want your unidentified flying object to be doing. Machines are not supposed to breathe. That's a very clear boundary. Holt's voice on the recording starts off controlled, professional, very "we are trained adults handling a situation," and then gradually shifts into something closer to "I would like to file a complaint with reality." Then things escalated. Because of course they did. A bright object appeared overhead. It seemed to break apart into smaller lights, then reform, because consistency is overrated. And then, just to really commit to being unsettling, it began directing beams of light down toward the ground, not randomly, specifically toward the base. More specifically, toward the weapons storage area, which is objectively not ideal. So now you have multiple trained military personnel standing in a forest in the middle of the night, watching unidentified objects in the sky shine beams of light into a nuclear weapons facility. And somehow, the official explanation later is still going to be, essentially, we're sure it was nothing, just lights. Normal, everyday, beam directing, physics ignoring lights. The physical evidence didn't exactly help calm things down either. Investigators reported 3 small depressions in the ground, arranged in a triangular pattern, as if something had landed there. Radiation readings in those spots were reportedly higher than normal, not dangerously high, but enough to make you go, that's not great. Nearby trees showed damage, broken branches, scorch marks, areas that looked like they'd been exposed to heat or energy from something. And then there were the symbols. One of the airmen claimed the craft had markings along its surface, strange geometric shapes. Not letters, not anything recognizable, just patterns, which would already be enough to make most people step back and reconsider touching it. He did not step back, he touched it, because of course he did. According to his account, when he made contact, he experienced something like a data transfer. Not in a USB cable plugged into alien spaceship way, but in a sudden stream of binary code appeared in his mind kind of way, which is either one of the most important moments in human history or the most creative explanation for I had a very strange night in the woods. Either way, not ideal. After that, everything unfolded exactly the way you'd expect when something deeply inconvenient happens near a military base. Reports were filed, statements were taken, and then everything was quietly minimized. Officially, nothing significant occurred. No confirmed landing, no extraterrestrial craft, no threat, just unidentified lights, which is a very efficient way of saying we are choosing not to deal with this. But the people involved didn't all agree to forget about it. Over the years, multiple witnesses came forward, repeating their accounts with frustrating consistency. No dramatic embellishments, no sudden plot twists, just the same details over and over. Lights that moved with intention, objects that didn't behave like anything they'd been trained to recognize, and a general sense that whatever they encountered was not concerned with being understood. Even decades later, Charles Halt publicly stood by his experience, stating that what they saw was real, unexplained, and far beyond anything he encountered during his military career, which leaves us with 2 very comfortable options. Either multiple trained military personnel, including high-ranking officers, all misidentified something completely ordinary in the exact same way, across multiple nights, or they encountered something that doesn't fit into any explanation we currently have. And somehow, the official response to both possibilities is the same. Don't worry about it, which is reassuring. Truly. Because the strangest part of the story isn't the object, or the lights, or even the beams being directed into a nuclear weapons facility, like that's a completely normal evening activity. It's how quickly it all became nothing. No major investigation, no definitive answers, no satisfying conclusion. Just a quiet return to normal, as if the forest hadn't lit up with something that moved like it understood it was being watched. As if nothing had landed there at all, which is interesting, because in December 1980, just outside a US Air Force base in England, something did,